Okay, let's help Robert Saleh this week. He's going against one of the best running backs in the league. What do you think of Bijan Robinson and Michael Penix and what the Falcons are trying to do?
I tell you, I was thoroughly impressed with Bijan Robinson. I tell you, that he had the 81-yard touchdown run, but the guy had 19 carries, 170 yards. They ran the outside zone, and their combination blocks, when you look at it from the end zone, with the guard and tackle working together, the center and the guard working together, they executed. They got the hip seal, and they got the two guys working to feel like a road grader, and they step off and they peel off on the backer at the second level. And I tell you give that kid a glimmer of daylight, his acceleration's going to take him to the hole, and he'll be gone before you know it. And your secondary now, your safeties are forced to play in space, trying to tackle a guy who's got an open field. It's like going down to 280 and there's no one else on the freeway but you, and you're trying to, tackle this kid.
Yeah. So run defense will be at a premium, but it seems like even after Fred Warner went down, the Niners' run defense was much better than their pass defense. Now they were facing Baker Mayfield, although he didn't have his receivers. Now they're facing Michael Penix Jr. What do you think? I mean, are they going to get pressure? Is Penix going to make him look bad? What do you think?
I watched him throw a couple things that I thought that were advantageous from a defensive perspective. Some of his trajectories on certain routes, like the corner routes to shake routes, the ball's too flat. And if he would have had a little bit more arc on the ball, a little bit more air under him, he could have had some more completions. But he's like a young quarterback. Too many of the young guys, I remember watching Fields when he was still with the Steelers, they try to line drive the ball too much. Whereas the savvy guys who are a little bit older know how to put a little bit of trajectory on the ball and throw a ball predicated upon where the defender is as to how much velocity is needed and plus the location where it has to go. But I tell you, from an offensive perspective for them, I also was very impressed with the ex-USC wide receiver, Drake London. He had a phenomenal game. And then, of course, I've always been a fan of Kyle Pitts, the tight end who came. He never has blossomed as a receiver. I look at a guy like that and go, oh, my God, this guy could catch 7 balls minimum a game. He's got great speed. He's tall, lean, lanky. He's agile. He's mobile. He can be a inline tight end on the zone schemes and then also a detached tight end out in space to create some matchup problems for your secondary.
Yeah, and the Niners have had,
those are the two big guys in the passing game you got to worry about.
Yeah, the Niners have had two big problems matching up with tight ends in the passing game. Marquise Siegel, the rookie's been getting torched. Jair Brown hasn't been much better. So what does Robert Saleh do here? Does he hang back, rush 4, play zone, or does he need to blitz? I mean, what are some things that Robert Saleh needs to do here?
I've got to start with zone first, because the thing about I've got to stop their run first, or they're never going to quit running the ball.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Penix is not going to throw it 40 times a game. If he throws it 22, 23 times, they're running the ball 31, 34 times a game. And as long as they got the Algier, the second running back, that kid's not too bad either. He's more of an interior runner, a little thicker, a little bigger mass to the button hips, and not the sleek, explosive build like Robinson. But I've got to stop the run first. I've got to force Penix to make the throws, and then realize he's got 2 legitimate weapons, and then I've got to see how it shakes out and how much pressure I can get on him with my 4-man rush before I begin to think about going to more exotic pressure schemes on defense and then having to play some man coverage.
Yeah, like force the young quarterback to prove that he can actually decipher the different zone coverages and put the ball where it needs to be, as opposed to with man coverage, you can just pick out a matchup you like.
Well, the other thing about it also is I have to stop the run first, so I need to have my safeties have eyes. They've got to have gap integrity, gap responsibility. I can't have everyone turning and chasing guys down the field on a run where I don't have enough bodies at the line. I got to have 8 and 9 guys closing and hats on the ball. And the key thing is going to be the gap integrity, taking on the offensive blocker with the proper shoulder, so I keep my free hand where it needs to be so that our picket fence doesn't have a big hole in it and a gash, and the guy Robinson goes racing through there. And that's what happened to Buffalo the other night. Oh my goodness, we got a couple guys who take on the blocks with the wrong shoulders. They're in the proper gap, but they take it on with the wrong arm, and they get pinned, and it's a free access for the running back to just down the field.
PrizePicks will give you $50 when you play your first $5 lineup. Win or lose, you'll get $50 for playing. Use promo code COHN, COHN, and download the app now. Joseph Erdberg wants to know if you would convert Isaac Guerendo to a wide receiver.
No, I'm sorry. There's a type of a build that works best for wide receivers, and when you get a guy who's a running back, they're usually thicker in the hips and all that. They can't make that transition in my mind.
All day, every day, Kim says, "Hey, Coach, I made a statement on Grant's show about Brock and Dylan Gabriel, saying that they're the same quarterback except Brock landed on a good team. What do you think?"
Oh, I tell you, when I first saw Dylan a couple of years ago, he reminded me of your former Bruin quarterback, the left-hander that y'all had, Cade McNown, years ago, who the Bears took. I think it was in maybe 97 or 98 as a first-round draft pick. And at the time, I had a coach contact me and say, "Look at this guy. What do you think?" And I said, "I wouldn't take him." And I thought he was soft. I didn't think he could play. Sure enough, he didn't pan out. Unfortunately, hopefully he's doing well today, whatever his chosen career is. But I also had the same thing about Gabriel. And I look at him. He's a little bit of a softer thrower than Purdy is. So
Purdy gets everything he can into it.
Correct.
He has a bigger windup.
Yeah, and Gabriel just doesn't. Right, his size does not, impress me. He's like in the old days when you didn't have to have the radar gun throwing 100 miles an hour. You had guys like Randy Jones and other pitchers like that who threw the sinkers and the junk balls and all that. He's a junk ball quarterback. He doesn't have a rocket for an arm, and he's a small kid.
Propa says the Niners are an iconic team. Players who request a trade should be obliged. Oh, you don't want to be here? Go to Cleveland and we'll use your day 2 pick to find our next great linebacker. Play hardball. Is that how Al felt?
I tell you, there are stories and then there's stories, but the thing about Al is that he was a very good talent evaluator. Now, in contrast, Bill Walsh, that we used to always get in conversations, always believed in getting rid of a player a year before you did. Unfortunately, at times, Al hung on to a guy a year longer than he should have because of his tremendous loyalty that he had and the belief that the guy would be able to get it done. I remember one year he brought in, I think, 6 different linebackers to audition for spots that we had on defense, and they all were former number 1 draft picks. And he thought, one of these guys is going to show up and have that, surge as an elder statesman, as a player with his experience and his savvy to be able to have a good season. And we did end up with an Oklahoma kid who ended up having over 90-something tackles, but we played him as a stack linebacker, and he was protected, and he was able to use his speed, and he was a tackling machine. So, sometimes you got to find a way to manufacture a front. We had to change our defensive look a little bit to allow that player to have that freedom to run.